Over the last few days, the Lunduke Journal has been covering a story about a Canonical employee, a Canonical being the parent company of Ubuntu Linux, who had defaced a wiki page related to the open source project known as Ex Libre, which is a fork of the open source Xorg X11 server. Now, this Canonical employee had done some very minor defacements, but had generally called the people who were running that project names, specifically Nazis. Called them Nazis and said they were making a Nazi bar, and it was just generally not nice things to say. And in investigating this individual a bit more in depth, I learned that this person was in fact a registered sex offender and had been convicted of thousands of sexual assaults directed at little girls under the age of 12, right? So little tiny girls. So needless to say, I reported on this because holy heavens, there's just so much to unpack there. It's just horrific and awful all the way around. Canonical has responded. They have emailed me. Just earlier today, I got an email from some of their high-ups in their communications department over at Canonical. Canonical, if you don't know, is actually a pretty big company now. About 1,000 employees last I checked. They're a pretty large firm, and they decided that this was important enough that they needed to respond to this. I have posted the full email sent to me online. The only thing I've redacted in any way is the email addresses and names of the individuals at Canonical who contacted me, just out of politeness. I want to read the email to you now so you can see exactly how Canonical has responded, word for word, with absolutely no editing from me. I have a whole lot of thoughts about this, both positive and quite a few negative. But I want you to actually hear the exact words so you can make up for yourself exactly what to think about all of this. So the title of this email was Responding to the Ex Libre GitHub Comments. And this was sent at 10:26 a.m. Eastern Time today. Quote, Brian, that's me. We regret the remarks made by Jeremy Beecha, that is the employee we talked about, on the Ex Libre GitHub wiki. And while he chose to use his Canonical email account, we would like to confirm in this instance he was not acting for or on behalf of the company, but speaking as an individual. Our company code of conduct is clear. We do not tolerate personal attacks, name-calling, or derogatory behavior, end quote. There's more. I just want to stop here for a moment and address that. I think the fact that Canonical responded to any of this is a positive thing. I want to repeat that. I really want to get that out there. Many in the open source and tech world, whether they be big tech companies, firms like Canonical, or even just foundations or large projects, would not have the manliness to actually respond. They would not be confident enough. They would not have the cojones to actually respond to me. Canonical did. And for that, I want to give them a bit of a high five for doing that. I also want to say that I approve of that opening sentence. They started out strong. We regret the remarks made by our employee. He was not acting for or on behalf of the company. Yes. Those are things that they should say, right? Because all of this is embarrassing. All of this is terribly embarrassing. If you have an employee using corporate resources to deface open source projects that your company is kind of distancing itself from and basically attacking them, calling them Nazis and all sorts of, you don't want that. In fact, if an employee behaves in that way, that is grounds for immediate termination for in almost any corporation. I mean, if I had an employee working for me and they did that, and I'm an engineering company? Oh, heavens no. They go and deface a competitor's wiki pages, basically committing sabotage and calling them Nazis. No. You're fired. That's end of story straight up. So at the very least, you have to make a statement that you distance yourselves from those things that employee said, and Canonical did at least that. They haven't made any mention of terminating this individual or reprimanding this individual in any clear way, but at least they did that. All right, now I want to continue and keep reading this here because this gets weird. Quote, "We conduct background checks for employees who perform sensitive functions, such as those who access customer networks or information, as well as those due to attend the sites of our clients per agreements made. Our general background check process, provided through a specialist supplier, screens for, to the extent permitted by local laws, felonies or misdemeanor convictions that would prevent an individual from being trusted, for example, bribery, fraud, violations of security laws, computer-related crimes, employment-related convictions, unspent convictions, convictions not shared at point of application and hire. At the time of hire, Jeremy had served his sentence and made a full disclosure of his record. We take any breach to our code of conduct seriously. Rest assured we have robust internal processes to address such matters, and this is being thoroughly investigated," end quote. All right, so that's the whole email. That's everything they sent me. Well, there's a sincerely and then signed off at the end, but that's everything. That's the whole email. I want to draw your attention to one of the final lines here. At the time of hire, Jeremy had served his sentence and made full disclosure of his record, end quote. Now again, Jeremy's record is that he was convicted of sexual assault of little girls under the age of 12. Thousands of times. Not a little thing. This isn't a parking violation. This isn't running a red light or failing to use a turn signal. This isn't shoplifting a candy bar. This is thousands of acts convicted of sexual assault of little kids, little girls under the age of 12. According to one of the articles I read, it sounded like as young as 9. When Canonical hired Jeremy, they knew that. And they felt that was fine and would not preclude him from working with all of the employees at Canonical. I have questions. So many questions. But chief among them is this. Were all of the people who interacted with Jeremy in any way, were they aware of his crimes? And did they consent to being put in the position of working with someone who thousands of times sexually assaulted little itty-bitty girls, little kids? Did Jeremy have access to other children while working at Canonicals, at corporate events, company picnics? Were there any times when he was at a work function at work itself where, kids came in with their parents? Did those kids and their parents know who was there? Did Canonical tell everyone? Because here's the thing, we know, and I already knew that Canonical knew because I had talked with several current and former Canonical employees who made it clear that, yeah, Canonical knew. In fact, this wasn't even the first time this person applied to work and interviewed to work at Canonical. The previous time, He did not get the job. And the company at that time knew he was a registered sex offender. They already knew. He didn't get the job that time. But something was different this time. They hired him the second time. I don't know. Maybe it was the third time. I don't know. But at least the second time, they hired him. And expanding this out a little bit. This person, Jeremy Beach, is also a fairly prolific and regular contributor to the GNOME project. In fact, he's written release notes for versions of GNOME. You can go back and look through his work. He's a core part of the GNOME project, as well as the Ubuntu project. He's worked on the Debian project. And here's the thing. It's really well known that this person is a registered sex offender and has sexually assaulted little girls thousands of times. It is really, really well known by the people who are running these companies and projects. I've had that confirmed to me so many times over the last 48 hours or so. Oh my gosh. I don't believe I have ever covered a story and had so many people come out of the woodwork to verify, yeah, this is going on and it's horrific. Oh my gosh, you have no idea how many people have known about this, but tried to keep this hush-hush. And tried to make sure the public didn't know. Open source organizations, foundations, and Linux companies worked very, very hard to protect someone who assaults sexually little girls thousands of times. We know that now. And here we have Canonical even just agreeing. Yeah, we knew. At the time of hire, we had a full disclosure of his record. And we knew. Okay. All right. So this person, he's spoken at conferences. Did the conference organizers know that this person who was speaking on behalf of Ubuntu Linux and Canonical, did we know that, did they know who he was and what his record is? They better have. So many conferences will have kids in attendance because they'll have family events. And I know several Linux conferences will do like family nights where, they bring in like board games and a bunch of nerdy parents will all get together with their nerdy kids and they'll all play games together or something like that and have nice little family events. Did any of those sorts of things occur? Were there any children at these conferences in any way, shape, or form? Heck, let's not even say kids. Were there any small women? I mean, this guy has sexually assaulted little kids, little girls, thousands of times. I don't know, if I were like a not overly large woman, I would be pretty scared of that as well. That would worry me. Shoot, as a guy, I'm a fairly tall man. I'm 6 feet tall, and I mean, I'm not huge. I'm certainly not muscular, but I'm not tiny. And I don't want to be in the same room with someone who I know did that sort of thing. The very concept makes my skin crawl. Did the people who were speaking on the stages before, during, after this guy, did they know? Did they know that they were associating their name with someone who did thousands of assaults of little girls? Were they made aware of this? Canonical knew. Who did they tell? Now here we are. The reality of the situation is this. Canonical did respond. And for that, I do have to give them kudos. They did state that they regret the things that Jeremy Beach did in defacing that wiki page. Okay, that's the correct stance. However, I cannot envision a scenario where if I were the manager, would not instantly fire that employee for taking those defacing a wiki page actions and calling people Nazis and whatnot using a corporate email address. I don't care if it's a one-off infraction. You're out. You can't have that sort of thing around. That's just there are legal consequences there, several legal consequences. Plus, there's just moral and ethical issues. That employee is out. Period. Gone. End of story. Fired that day. Clean out your desk. Go home. Turn off his email address. He no longer has source code access. He's gone. Doesn't matter how good he is. Gone. The fact that that hasn't happened to my knowledge yet is a failure on Canonical's part. To make this far worse is the fact that Canonical went into this employment relationship with this person, knowing the types of absolutely off the charts, horrific, no matter how you slice it, actions of this guy. They're like, yeah, of course we'll hire you. Yeah, of course we'll make you a critical part of the Canonical team and the Ubuntu world. Here's something crazy to think about. Ubuntu Linux as a project has several contributors who are under the age of 18. Several. I remember a story, and I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but you remember Unity, the desktop environment created by Canonical specifically for Ubuntu. Well, it failed, right? It didn't ultimately do all that well, and Ubuntu kind of scrapped it and threw it off to the side. Well, this kid, I can't remember how old he was, like 13 years old or something. He comes in and starts maintaining it again and putting out new releases of Unity. And he had a couple articles written about him and whatnot. And, so that means there are active contributors and developers spending a little bit of time working on Ubuntu-related technologies and within the Ubuntu ecosystem. And does Jeremy have access to any of those people? Can he email back and forth with those people? Do those kids and their parents know that a critical member of the Canonical employment and Canonical staff and one of the longtime Ubuntu contributors has assaulted little girls thousands of times? Do they know that? I guarantee you the parents of those kids would not be comfortable with them contributing source code to a project where that was going on. That's terrifying, man. That's horrific. Did Canonical or Ubuntu take steps to warn all of the children who contribute to Ubuntu in any way, shape, or form of what they were, of the type of criminal they were harboring and protecting? Did they do that? If not, why not? Because they damn well should have. Bare minimum. I need answers to these questions. I need answers. I need to know who at Canonical and who at Ubuntu and who at GNOME and who at Debian knew of the background of Jeremy Beecha. And specifically, who did they and who did they fail to warn about that background? Because this person is a registered sex offender in the state of Florida. And his crimes are extraordinarily well documented. People need to know this information in order to keep themselves and their children safe. It's critical. So I expect, and I responded to the communications people at Canonical because they said, quote, "Rest assured we have a robust internal process to address such matters," meaning the defacement of the wiki, "and this is being thoroughly investigated," end quote. So I asked to be updated. I said I something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing myself here, but I would appreciate if you could inform me when that investigation is complete and what the results of that investigation are. I have not heard back from them yet on that. So I don't know if they're going to tell me how the investigation goes. I do not know what they're going to do in regards to the employment of this person. But this is a huge problem for Canonical and Ubuntu and GNOME because they've all, to my understanding, and I've gotten this confirmed from several sources now, knowingly protected someone who assaults little children thousands of times. Knowingly. And promoted that person. And in some cases made that person a talking head for their organization. I mean, shoot, just look at GNOME. Some of their press release stuff is all in his name. Crazy. Crazy. I'll keep everyone updated on all of this. I hate this story. I hate this story. I really do. It's because this is not people having political disagreements. Those can be difficult. This is not like, say, Red Hat choosing to, not hire white people. Okay, that's horrible. That's racist and it's bad. But at least then we're talking about adults interacting with other adults. Here we're talking about corporations and open source organizations knowingly protecting, promoting, and advocating for someone who assaults little kids thousands of times. I mean, this is as dark as it gets. This is dark and disturbing. And what it seems to me is it seems like we have a number of organizations that have put the weird wishes of a registered sex offender well ahead of the safety, the actual real-world safety and concerns of everyone else. Men, women, and children alike. And willing to put people at risk. To put their actual safety at risk. Because once someone has done thousands of sexual assaults, what's one more, right? They have put people at risk, and it's unacceptable. It's absolutely beyond unacceptable. And what I find extraordinarily offensive is that thus far, the Lunduke Journal is the absolutely only place talking about this. Not one tech journalist on planet Earth is talking about this. It's insane to me. Thank you to the Lunduke Journal subscribers for making it possible, so I can. Lunduke.com, you can click on all the links. They're great links. Amazingly, I haven't been censored off of any of these platforms recently, so that's kind of nice. So you can go to Lunduke.com and choose wherever you want to listen or watch any of the stuff from the Lunduke Journal. Oh, and I really do appreciate all of the subscribers for making it so I can cover these sorts of things. It sucks. It's a terrible story. And every time I record another piece about it or post a little more information about it, I keep hearing from more people that makes the story even worse. And it's awful. It's awful. I look forward to a point very, very soon when I don't have to talk about this story anymore and I can talk about something really fun and nerdy. I'm really, really hoping for that moment. So to Canonical, to Mark Shuttleworth, the head of Canonical, I know people from your team are listening right now. I know they are because I've been hearing from some of them. You need to take action on this, my man. I've met Mark Shuttleworth a couple of times. We've interacted a few times, and those interactions have always been positive, always left a good impression on me. I have no reason to think that Mark Shuttleworth, the head of Canonical, is anything other than but a good, solid, genuine guy. I have no reason to think he's a bad man. But he needs, you, Mark, need to get this in order. You need to take care of this swiftly, quickly, and you need to let me know when it's done. Come on. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes across the inner tubes, I do declare, end broadcast.